And away we go. It is the Nightcap brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken. Head down to Dayton, Kentucky. Save yourself 15% when you mention Pump It Up, when you mention me, when you mention Chad. Just tell them Bearcat Journal sent you. They'll get you 15% off your chicken tenders with that awesome Galactic sauce from everything that anybody who's ever tried it. It's out of this world. All right, special night tonight. Chad was in on the radio, so Keegan Nicholson is stepping in. He's been stepping in all over the place on Bearcat Journal. First and foremost, I do want to ask you, Keegan, what's it been like for you on the beat this week now that camp has broken?
It's been a whirlwind, really. I think the presser Tuesday was kind of like the official, okay, like it's coming, it's close, and I need to like hunker down and get ready because soon it's going to be football, anywhere you turn. But it's been awesome. I think just being able to watch the team so much, getting a lot of access more than I ever had is a real treat, and it's been a lot of fun. It's something that if I went back and told 12, 13-year-old Keegan I was doing it, he probably wouldn't believe me. So I'm having a blast.
I know that feeling. What's been, I guess, some of the biggest eye-opening changes between covering Indiana versus covering Cincinnati?
We're allowed to go to more than 2 practices, I would say.
It's a big difference.
There's a stark contrast between a football program that wants media attention and then a football program that doesn't want media attention. I think Cincinnati, they want to be friends with the media, and they see the media as something that can be a positive and not always a negative, which I know the Indiana media is way harsher on Indiana than the Cincinnati media probably is in Cincinnati, but yeah, it's interesting. I think the biggest difference with the first-year head coach makes it all more compelling. You have no idea what's really going to happen, so there's a lot of excitement right now. And then we're going to see what this team's made out of, what this coaching staff is made out of come September 2nd. So I think the contrast between what Indiana is right now and what I covered the last 2 years versus, okay, I kind of don't know what's going to happen. It could be good. It could be kind of bad. It's more interesting than covering the Hoosiers.
Well, there are certainly a lot of question marks.
Yep.
What were the biggest, if you had to pick one on each side of the ball, what were the biggest question marks you had coming into camp?
Biggest question marks coming in, I would say obviously quarterback play, just to see what kind of confidence Emory Jones is playing with. And I think so far what he's shown is kind of impressive. He's not holding back as much as I might have thought he would, or what the past 2 years of seeing him has been. Defensively, question marks is kind of who's going to step up at DB. I know there's been a lot of talk about Jordan Young, but then you have guys like Sammy Anderson, Taj Ward, Brian Threats. Seeing them play with a lot of confidence is something that's really interesting to me. Kind of taking that mantle of there needs to be a DB that's going to lead. Deshaun Pace is obviously probably going to run that defensive backfield as the star, but having that lockdown corner, someone that wants to play with that kind of Sauce Gardner, Kobe Bryant attitude, that's something that fans want to see. So I think someone stepping up in that role is extremely important and just can really round out what could be one of the best defenses in the Big 12.
Well, it seems like you are putting out about 3 articles a day. That's what it feels like anyway. You've been busting your ass since you pretty much got access to the beat.
Mm-hmm.
But did want to throw out that Bearcat Journal until midnight tonight is still 75% off if you are a first-time subscriber. That all said, though, you've gotten to write some cool articles. What's been the biggest one that has kind of stood out to you as this season's unfolded already?
The Emory Jones one was probably the most interesting. I think the amount of sourcing I did on that one makes me the most proud of it, and just how much time I spent on it.
Yeah.
kind of getting an inside look on the relationship he has with his mom, how he was brought up, the kind of person he is. He's not a prima donna diva who thinks he deserves so much, and that's why he's transferred so much. It's kind of just him making sure he's in the right situation. His
Sure.
coaches spoke very highly of him. His high school coaches, his coach in Georgia had a great quote, and it was saying he comes in his freshman year with a Mississippi State offer as like a 14 to 15-year-old, and then he has some 32 offers by the time he graduates. And he was walking around just another teammate, just another student. And he said, imagine acting like that in a town with one red light. Like, that's crazy. You just don't see that happen.
Right.
So it speaks to the character of Emory Jones and knowing that he wants to lead. He wants to make his teammates better. And then his mom said he never enjoys the spotlight, and he never wants the spotlight alone. He always wants someone to be up there with him. So seeing the chemistry that he's built with his teammates so far with the wide receivers, getting multiple people from Florida to follow him here to Cincinnati is really interesting. And I can't wait to see just how much chemistry the offense has, how they play as a unit, or if they don't. That's going to be another thing that we have to see with how this system installation goes with Coach Satterfield.
Well, and you bring up the wide receivers, so it seems as good a time as any to get into what you've seen at camp the last 2 days. Obviously, they don't have pads on. They're kind of doing a lot of install right now. But from what you've seen, especially from the wide receivers, I guess specifically from the wide receivers, what's something that you've seen that you haven't written about yet from this wide receiver group?
Something that I've seen that I haven't written about. I think how competitive they are is really interesting, and how many kind of one-on-one deep balls go up and grab it. They're kind of getting in the one-on-one drills with the DBs. I think Barry Jackson's had a good couple of days in fall camp. I know that's a name that a lot of people are really interested in to see what kind of role he's going to have. I don't know.
He was a big name during the spring. So
yeah. He was a big name during the spring because he was one of the only names during the spring. Now that they've rounded out the wide receiver room, I know Satterfield is talking about, they're not scared to give him a significant role in his true freshman season. I think now it's more of like there's a few names that are going to get more reps than him. He could still be like a role player guy, get a good amount of receptions for a true freshman, something you haven't seen in a while at Cincinnati, kind of just because he set the standard as someone they can rely on. But I think the amount of natural hands in the wide receiver room is really interesting. Natural, really strong receiver hands is something that you kind of gloss over because you want someone that can shake somebody on a route or just go up and catch a deep ball. But ball security, I'm not seeing a lot of drops. And then I think the competitiveness between the wide receivers and the DBs is really, really promising. They're going to make each other better. I saw today Deshaun Pace had a really interesting play where the ball was caught. Then he tried to punch the ball out, missed the ball, punched up through a wide receiver's helmet and like ripped the helmet off with his fist. So not really like a football play, but just it's kind of a Deshaun Pace attitude play that you don't hate to see.
None of that surprises me at all. Especially if you had given me a choice of who made a play like that, Deshaun Pace would have been my first guess, and shortly thereafter would have been Brian Threat. So I mean,
yeah, but they're putting each other through the ringer, and I think that's going to be really, really good for both sides because this wide receiver room is talented, and I don't think a lot of people are giving them the credit that they really deserve.
Well, you talk about the fact that they're competitive. I'm just curious, is it apparent at all, or does it stand out that all these guys are new, or does it feel like there's already some pretty good chemistry developed between Emory Jones and this core?
I think it doesn't stand out that they're new because a lot of the guys that you're probably going to see contribute are in the same system that they had been in the last 1 and 2 years. The Louisville transfers, you're not going to beat around the bush. But other than that, you can kind of throw Emory Jones into that crop of knowing the system really well just because of how devoted he is to earning the trust of his teammates, and he knows to do that you have to be on the same page on the field. So I think how quickly he will kind of learn the system is impressive, and I think that chemistry is going to grow. You can go back to Brad Glenn's presser. I asked him, I was like, who's building the most chemistry with Emory Jones, and he flat out said D. Wiggins, Xavier Henderson, and Braden Smith. And then also threw in Evan Prater in there, just because of that quarterback wide receiver / quarterback relationship is not one you see very often. But it's the veteran transfers. It's one he's played with, and it's two that know the system that Satterfield wants. So they're kind of ahead of the rest of the receiver room just from that aspect, and that's something you can kind of easily predict, knowing that they're veterans, knowing that they've been in that system. That's not really a surprise to anybody.
Well, you bring up D. Wiggins and Braden Smith. You got to talk to both of them today. Anything interesting stand out from either one of those guys as you got to talk to them post practice?
Not really major, not much from Wiggins. I think the biggest thing from Smith is that he's 100% healthy. He had a gruesome leg injury last year that caused him to he didn't miss the season. When Satterfield talked about that, I thought he missed the season. But he played most of the season, but wasn't 100% healthy, according to Satterfield. Now, like you can notice he's 100% healthy. Satterfield said it. I asked him today. He said, yeah, he's healthy. So this could be a coming out year for him. And this could be the year that he's been looking for out of himself, especially with this offense that it's looking like they're willing to stretch the field. Emory Jones wants to prove something, and the running back room is going to really offset that of being reliable, having those veteran running backs. You got the tandem with the outside zone and Miles Montgomery and the power and Corey Kiner. So it's all going to come down to, can Emory Jones execute, and can the offensive line protect? And then you have the talent around them to produce a Big 12 level offense, in my opinion.
You can tell these guys really like each other as they speak about each other.
Yeah.
Just like how they were talking about how when D found out that Braden Smith was coming, they talked like every day.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of cool to see how much they obviously just enjoy being around the others.
Yeah, I think that's a credit to Satterfield, really. Like the calm, cool attitude that he has about coaching. You know, everyone likes him. And in the limited kind of time that I've had around him as a media member, I can see why people like him. He seems like a genuinely good guy, and I think his players kind of feed off of that. And I think the rapid nature of people kind of coming to Cincinnati from Louisville after that departure is a signal of, you know, he earns trust, and that trust is there for a reason.
As far as the defense goes, I don't really want to ask about any specific groups. I think Chad and I have kind of beat that horse a little bit until we see the defense with pads on and get an idea of what they can do. But I do want to ask about the defense that Coach Brown is installing. And he's known as being an aggressive guy. He's known as guys flying around, getting after the ball. What do you feel like you've seen as you've watched the defense, like just kind of not really specifics, but just big picture on what Coach Brown's installing is with the defense?
I think the most interesting thing, and I've said this for a while, I think the most interesting thing is how aggressive he's going to be, on top of how much this defensive line is already going to be in the backfield consistently. And it opens up the defensive backfield for a lot of turnovers. And that can just shift the game immediately. As everyone knows, turnover margin is so huge. So I think it's going to burn them. Obviously, sometimes these high-flying offenses are it's going to burn this defense. But the disruption that could come out of it is really intriguing for me. I think the sack numbers are going to be way up. Daniel Greshik is an underrated guy that I think could be the singular player that pushes this defense up in the upper echelon of the Big 12. But with Deshaun Pace kind of playing that Jamal Adams from the Seahawks role, he's going to blitz, he's going to get sacks, he's going to be playing back and ball hawking. This could be a big year for him in terms of turnovers. I think he probably leads the team in interceptions this year. That's one take that I'll have. But I highly doubt that it's a second consecutive down year for Deshaun Pace just in this defense. I think he's going to be able to fly around like his brother did last year, just from a different kind of role, and it's going to benefit the defense greatly.
Well, that's awesome to hear. It should be another fun year. I mean, Deshaun was definitely all over the place 2 years ago, so it'd be good to see him get back to that and get kind of back in his groove. I'm going to let you off the hot seat after two last questions. Number one, Are you in like an interrogation room at a police station? Because
So
there's absolutely like I'm looking at. I was distracted looking at how busy my walls were versus your walls. I was just waiting for here. Boom, 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 guard.
yeah, there's a two-way mirror behind me.
Yeah.
No, my house is being renovated. So basically, like my entire house is gutted. I have a fridge, a sink, a shower, and a bed.
So it's
So
like
it's
where you stayed down in Texas.
yes, basically. Like I have very low standards for living. My dad was like feeling guilty about because he's living somewhere else where this is being renovated. He's feeling guilty about not like having a bunch of stuff. I'm like, dude, just give me a bed. I just need to sleep. I don't care. So
The other thing I was going to ask you, Higher Ground starts, and this will be your first time at Higher Ground. So we've heard what all the athletes are looking forward to. What have you heard about Higher Ground, and what are you looking forward to experiencing there?
I'm looking forward to the 15-minute drive to Higher Ground because it's very close to where I live, and I don't have
Nice.
to get on the highway and drive 33 minutes to Nippert. Um, everyone keeps talking about the food. I don't know how much I'm going to be exposed to that as not an official member.
You'll get some food.
Okay,
Yeah, you'll get some food.
I'm looking forward to that. But I'm also like, everyone seems excited. I'm sure there's some guys who are kind of so about it or kind of uneasy about what the experience is going to be like. But Juwan Briggs is excited about it. Mason Fletcher said in his presser, he's like, I'm secretly like really looking forward to it. Like I called my mom and like surprised her that I'm excited to go to Higher Ground. But I think it's going to be fun. I think the team's going to come back different than they are now naturally.
Sure.
when you
Absolutely.
spend 24/7 with a group of guys and you're not like in separate places around campus, you're constantly hanging out with each other. I think that's obviously going to serve them well. It only can serve them well. But I'm looking forward to the increased chemistry, seeing who Emory Jones is very comfortable with in the passing game, the running backs. I'm excited to see what that looks like. And I just want good weather. I don't want it to be raining a bunch. I know it's going to be on turf and it's going to be super hot, but it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to that night practice. I think that's going to be really, really interesting on Monday.
Yeah. I'll say, I think for a group like Cincinnati's put together, I think that the fact that they are getting away is going to serve this team maybe better than any team that Chad's even covered. Just with how many new faces you have and how many of these guys don't know each other really outside of some practices or living arrangements that they have had for a couple months now. But some guys don't necessarily know many people on the team at all.
Jabril White, he's been here for 3 days.
Right.
It's going to be extremely important for him.
So I'm with you. I think that it's going to be really fun to see how much chemistry develops from everybody, and I'm certainly looking forward to the stories that come out of camp because I think that this one is going to be full of them.
Yeah. Juwan Briggs mentioning like how important his instant coffee is was really funny to me. He's like bringing up the pillow, comforter, bug spray, and then for me, I need my instant coffee. I'm like, that's so like, they don't have. You're gonna drink coffee and then go run around in 100-degree heat for like 3 hours.
I picture him having to use like a custom mug for just how big his hands are. And how small a mug has to look in his giant arm.
It's like the little espresso mugs.
But that's going to wrap it up. Thank you to Keegan Nicholson for joining us tonight, filling in for Chad as Chad did radio today. But another nightcap in the books. So special thanks to Galactic Fried Chicken for sponsoring this as always. And we will see you tomorrow night. Maybe. It is Friday. So
Bearcat Journal, 75% off.
There you go.